Hello, good afternoon. Yeah, my name is Joshua Crompton. I work at a company called Sports Interactive, and we make the game called Football Manager. As you can tell, I'm covered head to toe in our branding. So I'm going to talk about how the AI works in the match engine and spill all our secrets, but not too many, because I don't want you to copy us too much. So let's dive straight into it. This is Football Manager. This is the match being played. In Football Manager, surprisingly, it's a football management simulation game. And we basically simulate the entire world of football and then just drop you in as one tiny character in it. So there'll be tens of thousands, sometimes you can go up to hundreds of thousands of characters all in this world of football, and you're just one little manager inside of it. We're an annual iterative title we release every year. It's available now on Steam and in good retailers and some mediocre ones as well. And the match engine has been going for the same time. That's since, 1994 was when the company was founded. The two people who co-founded it worked on it a bit earlier than that. Which means our match engine has evolved since then. So it's been going a long time. So what we're talking about with Football Manager Match, we simulate the full 90 minutes, which means you can watch the whole 90 minutes, and 0.35% of our users just sit there and watch an entire match of football every time, which is a lot of football to watch. Unlike FIFA and like Pro Evolution Soccer, you don't actually control the players, you just give them some instructions, and you kind of hope they carry out those instructions well and they win. You have access to the same instructions as the AI managers. And the people working on this team, there's these 5 people here, one of whom is very handsome. They are we've kind of got 2 of them have just joined, but most of the matching AI is written by one person, who's called Paul Collier. He is one of the co-founders of the company, along with his brother Oliver, and he's been working on the match engine for 20 plus years. He is a genius. And I can barely understand half his code, which is kind of helpful when I'm doing this talk. So the match engine simulation, and it's important the word simulation there. Our comparison is real world football. Our users if our users enjoy the experience, well, hey, that's a bonus. But we're looking to emulate real life football. That is our comparison. So how close are we to real life? Which means we have a 90-minute simulation, so we do simulate the entire match of football. And we have to simulate all standards of football. So we go from right to the top, so that's like Champions League, World Cup standard, all the way down to Sunday League football, where half the players are hungover, half of them still drunk. Big Al's just done a Jaeger bomb to try and perk himself up. That's kind of the standards of football we have to go. So we can't always, unlike FIFA and PES, which are great games and really fun to play, or it's always quite slick, the passing and things like that. All the players are quite good, but ours, we have to do some atrocious football, which also means we do all styles and tactics. So we're going from the slick Barcelona, Lionel Messi kind of play to me, who can barely play football. We are human and computer agnostic, so the match engine doesn't know who's human and who's computer, which means, unlike a lot of conspiracy theories going around with our users, we don't have any comeback AI. And having looked at the code, it's actually really hard to write some comeback AI. So yeah, we don't cheat. It's single-threaded. We play loads of matches at the same time, so we get task-level parallelism. We're deterministic across platforms-ish. So PC and Mac can play against each other, and the match will play back the same. We also release on iOS, Android, and now Switch. And a match takes about 3 to 4 seconds to calculate the result. So let's have a look. What does it look like? This. 3D visuals came in 2008, which is kind of important because the match engine simulation isn't really this. It's the good old classic dots or disks. We kind of bolt the 3D visuals on top, which kind of has its own problems with animation. We get lots of sliding. But the match engine simulation is really this. And in the end, lots of players still actually use this view. And the key to the match engine is decisions. It's all about decisions. So here we have this fine bit of motion capture where players passing, he's going to cross, maybe he'll decide to shoot instead, and if he shoots and it goes well, hey, we've got everything's gone fantastically, we can celebrate. So the players make decisions on the ball and off the ball, and as a pretty terrible aside, I am one of our main motion capture actors. So if you're ever playing Football Manager and you go, my word, this is a very uncoordinated and lanky person, that's because it's me. So the players are making decisions on the ball and off the ball. The AI managers are doing, they're making decisions with their tactics, which the human manager is doing at the same time. The match officials, they're making decisions, whether to give a foul, whether to give a red card, yellow card. They can get it wrong. Now we have VAR, that kind of corrects that stuff. And the way our model works for all those characters is we divide the match into a fixed time step, which is we call a slice, which is there's 4 every second. We make a decision per slice for each character, and then we can execute mid-slice, otherwise it'd look weird if everyone was doing everything every 0.25 seconds. And we use something called utility AI, which we call scoring AI, because we didn't know utility AI was the official word. And we're making a lot of decisions given this model. So we have 4 decisions per second. Surprisingly, there are 60 seconds in a minute, and there's 90 minutes-ish in a match, which means players making 21,600 decisions per match, which is a lot of AI going on. But there's not just one player in a match. If we're just looking at players, there's 22 players in the match, which is this big, scary number here. But that's not entirely true, because the ball is only playing a football match for roughly 58 minutes, which means you're not getting much value for money when you're thinking, I'm going to watch 90 minutes of football, which means there's still a big, scary number there, and that's actually quite high. We do some clever things where we don't need to make decisions every single slice. Sometimes execution takes a few slices. So that's kind of an upper limit, but that's a lot of decisions. And this is where utility AI comes in. Utility AI, for those who don't know, is you have a set of functions evaluating the set of possible decisions. So you'll have one function to say how good is a pass. You have another function saying how good is a shot in this scenario, how good is like a dribble. And then it gets really complicated. You go through every single one of these functions, they return a single value, and then, hold me if I'm going too fast, you pick the highest one. That's literally it. That is the secrets behind the match engine, is we have all these utility functions which are really complex, but they produce a simple numerical score, and we can just decide which one's the highest, and we just pick that one. So let's have a look at what actually goes into like our scoring into these functions, and that kind of brings me to this. Spreadsheet manager is something we're often called because we look like a Excel spreadsheet. And people kind of use it pejorative. I actually am quite proud of the fact we have a stupid amount of data. We have the largest scouting network in the world in football. Is that right, Tom? Yeah. So we have the largest scouting network in football. This includes pro clubs. There's about 1,300 scouts around the world. They go watch matches. They go watch youth matches as well. We have over 750,000 players, staff, non-players in our database, which is real-world people who we've gone to watch and we've evaluated, and they will have hundreds of data points, which is meant to look like their real-life stats. So let's kind of see all this data then filters into the decision. So let's see just how much data we're talking about. So here we have a player. They'll have what positions can they play in. They'll then have their attributes. We have technical attributes, mental attributes, physical attributes. We'll have, are they left-footed, are they right-footed, are they both-footed? What is their personality like? We evaluate that. We'll then have how happy are they? How fit are they? What's their form like? How have they been playing recently? Then we have some more attributes which are hidden unless you buy the in-game editor, which is available now on the Steam store, which is more attributes. We then have more player traits. They all go into a single decision. We then have something called dynamics, which is do the players actually like each other, which does have an effect in the match. Then we have the manager. So this is me, but normally it's an AI manager. So they'll have like what formation they play, what style they like to play. They'll then have a load of more attributes, and I've given myself ones across the board because I'm a terrible manager. I've also managed to get my date of birth wrong, which is really the accuracy you want in Football Manager. Then we have the state of the competition you're playing in. So if it's like if you're like chasing after, like you need a result because you're about to get relegated or you want to go promotion, your players will probably try a bit harder. If it's a friendly, they won't really care. Then we go finally now onto team selection, what your team is going to be in a football match. So here we have your formation and your player roles, and the player roles also include player instructions, and you can set further player instructions, but I forgot to take a screenshot of that screen. Then you have your actual team, who have you selected, how familiar you are with the tactic you've picked. Then we want to roles. We have player instructions, as I said. Then we have team instructions. We have team instructions with the ball. We have team instructions without the ball. We have team instructions as you go from with the ball to without the ball to without the ball to with the ball. And you think, that's a lot of instructions, but there's more. It's opposition instructions you can also set. Then we have team talks. They will have an effect. Have you given a rousing speech, or is it a damp squid? You have what's the current state of the match. So if you play on a yellow card and you want to be cautious in terms of tackling, what's the scoreline? Are they having a bad day? What's their condition? Are they injured? Then finally, we're actually on to the match itself. Like, what's the state of this slice of the match? Where are the players on the pitch? Where are they facing? Who has the ball? And That's finally it. But that's only the stuff the user can see. There's so much more. I've picked out some of my favorite under-the-hood stuff. We have the tendencies of the nation of the team. We have the tendencies of the nation of each player. We have the tendencies of the nation of the competition. We've got tactical training. We've got touchline shouts. We've got language proficiency. We've got altitude modeled in. We've got jet lag modeled in. This is nuts. Like, there is so much data going into these decisions. And they are used in player decisions. They may not be used in every decision, but they do filter through into the match AI and then used. And they may only have a small influence. But if we go back to like our scoring AI, if something's returning like a value of 50.11112 and something's returning a value of 50.11113, that's a small difference, but you're going to pick the one which is slightly higher, and that may have been done by a really, really small bit of data. And it means balancing these hundreds, thousands of data points into a decision is extremely difficult. So we have incremental version control changes, so we know we're kind of always stable-ish. And all that complex data comes through into the scoring, which simplifies things, but a word on that is kind of a bit weird because our decisions are scored through the perception of the player and what attributes they have, and they're interpreting the tactics instructions either you've given them or the AI manager has given them, which means you get this weird thing where the best decision isn't the best decision. We're looking at what does the player think is the best decision? And maybe a naff player like me and think the best decision is just literally like empirically, it's just the worst decision, but I still think it's the best decision. We have to model that. We're not interested in making a perfect player, except Lionel Messi. So we don't really, we don't want to make the best decision. We want to make the most realistic simulation given who the player is and what their attributes are. Which also means each function is very context heavy. So making a decision about a pass is very different about making a decision about a shot or dribbling or just standing on the ball. They're all very different. Which means our scoring functions are where all the complexity is, and they're all very context heavy, which is kind of like the key to how good the match engine is. You've got to have complexity somewhere in AI with this kind of stuff, and that's where it lives. So let's take an example. This was shown at the National Video Game Museum, Video Game Arcade, which shows our under the hood stuff, so our debug stuff, which we don't really ever show. So in this scenario, you've had a player who's got the ball now. He's making a range of possible decisions he's evaluated, which he's made a score for. So he's got the white one is a shot, the blue ones are passes, and the pink ones are dribbles. So he's got options. He's going to take a long-range shot. He's going to dribble into the space. He's going to lay it off to a striker in the front. If it was me, like tunnel vision Joshua Crompton, I'm going like, just give it to this guy. I don't want the ball anymore. There's a person coming towards me. But Pereira is actually a footballer, so he's doing something a bit better than that. And he plays it along to his mate out on the left. They cross it in, and bang, you get a goal. So success, yeah. So that's kind of what it looks like. There's a lot more calculations going on because we kind of prune stupid decisions, like the player's not going to pass all the way back to his goalkeeper at that point. So we're not going to fully calculate that. So we have early returns to make it a bit more efficient. Which brings us on to the next question. Is it any good? Sure, why not? It kind of, yeah, I'd go with yes. So it's, yeah, evaluation of this AI is very important. We can't just have me saying it's good, because that's what I'm paid to do. So we have to compare with real life again. We're not comparing to what the user thinks, because users often think their players should be, every single player should be like Messi. So we have some automated stats testing, so we're looking to evaluate against real life stats. So we're not just looking at scores and goals, we're also looking at stuff like passes, crosses, tackles, injuries, cards, and we're not going to get it spot on for everything, but we try and get close, and they vary a lot in real life between different countries. So we're comparing against real life stats. The primary countries, like the big five, tend to, if we get them right, we get everything right. We only have problem countries because China is nuts with all the money they have, and they don't really know how to spend it. And we run this every match version, which produces this nice spreadsheet of doom. Red is bad, white is good. But these stats only tell you the destination. Like, you've outputted a match of football, it might look completely unrealistic to the user. So we need to talk about the journey, we need some qualitative feedback, and this generally is done by QA. Good QA is crucial because none of them are in the room. I can tell you our ones are excellent, so I don't massage their ego too much. Because they don't have to just identify issues, they have to find out the causes. So if we've got too many goals in the division, it's no point in them just telling us there's too many goals, because, well, what do you want me to do about that? They can find out, like, is it build-up plays, the defensive issues. We also have some private beta testers we use when we're stable. So yeah, all that data means we're managing chaos. There's thousands of pieces of data contributing to each decision. Because football is really complicated, and annoyingly it changes a lot. If you plunked in a team from the 90s with their tactics now, they would lose every game. So we have to keep up with that. And this simple scoring area, which underpins all the match engine, brings order to the chaos. So finally, there's some Twitter stuff you can follow. We're hiring. Please come join us. We've got a few job openings. And yeah, that's all the secrets I can give you.
Lovely. Thank you, Joshua. Although we have a whopping 3 minutes, so does anyone want to ask any questions? Excellent, brilliant.
How much football knowledge do you have? Like,
Me personally, not as much as you think. Especially working at SI, everyone thinks you have to be the biggest football nerd, and we do have the biggest football nerds in the industry working for us. But we have people who don't know anything about football, and that's absolutely fine. Like, so some roles you do, but lots of them you don't.
Yeah, straight to this chat.
Hiya. You say you've got spotters and whatever, which make sure that the data's accurate.
Yeah.
Have you compared real match games with what your predicted games are? And are they spot on, or are they very far
So
out?
our data's never going to be 100% accurate. Our scouts do a very, very good job. And yeah, we kind of, in terms of like our match engine AI, it weirdly tends to be the other way round.
So the opposite of what happens in real life.
No, it tends to be people come to us, especially researchers at unis, they come to us to check whether their models work because they can't get real
No,
work.
I'm talking about, say there's a match going to come on and then you've already got all the data and you play the same match. Do you get roundabouts the same sort of scoring and stuff?
If we play it a load of times, ideally, yes. We can't do it just
Because
once.
you can make a lot more money just by gambling on yours and over the odds.
Yeah, people could do that if they wanted to. We're not really interested in that. But yeah, it is a good point. Like, it is a good point. We do lots of publicity work with different newspapers who want us to simulate the world of football from this point on and see what like the end of the year table is, and we put those out, and hopefully they're pretty close to spot on. They're never going to be 100% because each one of our game worlds is different and there's no randomness involved. But hopefully we're pretty close.
Yeah, speaking as one of those abhorrent games journalists who receives a lot of press releases, definitely get a couple a year related to Sports Interactive where they predict them. The prediction thing does seem to hit it right sometimes, at least when they tell people like me and George. Yeah.